Hello, hey everybody, welcome back. Welcome back to For the Love of Cyberpunk and Sci-Fi. This is your host, Russ Storm, and we're here to do a more, what's the word I'm looking for here? A more relaxed, calm down look back at the season finale of Succession. And actually not just the season finale, I should say the season of Succession, because this was an ending to remember. Oh, but before we get into that, let me remind you, if you enjoy the content that you're hearing and love to hear more of it, we have playlists, but more importantly, we have the ability to like, share, subscribe, and also turn on that notification bell, because you never know when I'm going to be dropping a new video, a new hot video based on something that's going on. Especially since I think we're like 2-3 weeks away from Secret Invasion, which I am going to content the hell out of for several reasons. Especially the number one reason being is I love the story in the comic books, even though I know the story on the show can't. Like, they don't have the budget, honestly, to make it exactly like the comic book storyline. But nevertheless, Samuel L. Jackson, I was going to say call her Daenerys, but her name is Emilia Clarke. Like, all-star cast. Rhodey is back. Like, I can't wait. Talos, who is slowly becoming one of my favorite actors, which I know that his real name's not Talos, but nevertheless, Secret Invasion is coming back, boys and girls, and I can't wait. Oh, by the way, if you're kind of in the mood to subscribe to something, check out our Patreon page, because we really, really appreciate it. You don't even have to subscribe. You can just make donations there, they're saying now. So please do that. It really helps out the project and allows me to continue making content like this. Thank you in advance. So, okay, now on to the show. Okay, after a couple of days to digest the season finale, part of me reaches the same conclusion, to be honest. Because I know, like, I was a little perturbed or disappointed in the ending, but the emotional side of me is honestly really, speaking of disappointed in the three of them for not being able to work it out together without their dad. Because, I mean, if you think about it, that was their rallying cry through every single season. No matter how badly their dad treated them, they were just like, screw dad, we're going to come together and we're going to make this work. We're going to come together and we're going to fight back against dad. That was like the whole theme of the last two seasons, really. Or I should say maybe like 2.5 seasons. Like, they were going to be like, look, we're not going to keep dancing on his puppet strings. We're going to come back together. And then now that their dad isn't there, they're just like, yeah, they fall right back into their petty, childish sibling rivalry things. And speaking of, and when I say this, I'm especially thinking about Shiv, who, by the way, was the most level-headed one of them all. But in the end, she betrayed her family, and by family, I mean her brothers, again, for the most pettiest of reasons. It can't be you. I'm like, what? Seriously? Literally, she would literally rather give the company away to a guy who told her to her face that he was just going to sell off the parts. He was going to break her company, her dad's life work into pieces and just sell off the parts. And she would rather do that than see her big brother win? Like, seriously, to me, the most disappointing part about Shiv is how could she help Tom? Tom, who betrayed her twice in about a year. If you think about the fact that the season 3 finale, it's like, are you kidding? It's not like he cheated at Uno or on a game of Monopoly or something. He literally stabbed her in the back with her dad, and then stole the job that she was betraying her brothers to get. Like, what? And then his only excuse was he told her to her face. He was like, what? I'm not mad about it, or I'm not sad about it. I don't feel bad about it. He's like, you wouldn't do the same? And I think, okay, here's my theory on Shiv and Tom. I think the reason after all of that happened, and she still called him from the car and said, "Hey, you know, if you want, we could get back together." And he was like, "I don't know. Do I want to consider that?" And the reason that she came back to him and the reason why she betrayed, again, theory time, theory. But this is the thing. I think that the reason why she did this and betrayed her brothers and allowed Tom to and Matson to win, it had nothing to do with Matson. It had everything to do with Tom. I think that Tom knows her better than anyone in the world. And she realizes that because, like he said to her several times, don't tell me you wouldn't do the same thing. Because the truth of the matter is, she did the same thing. She has been doing it, and they set this up the whole entire season to show you that she, when it comes down to it, Shiv isn't as nice as we all thought she was. Like, she will betray you regardless of whoever you is, whoever's in her way of whatever goal she's trying to get. She's not afraid to betray you to get there. And the truth of the matter is, Tom's the exact same way. And that, like in the final scene of the episode where Tom is sitting in the car next to her, they're driving, being chauffeured around or something, and Tom just puts his hand down in the car and doesn't say a thing, and she looks at it, hesitates, and then begrudgingly she puts her hand in his. And that is I think that was the writer's way of telling you, is that deep down, even though she's pissed at him for betraying her again, she's the exact same person. And that's what their relationship is based on, is that they're both the same person. They're both not afraid to betray people. And if you go back and look at all the other episodes, earlier seasons, you see that she does that a lot. She ends up betraying people a lot because nothing is more important than what she's trying to do. And so that's why I think because for a long time it made no sense to me why Shiv would ever betray her brothers for Tom, and it had to be deeper than just sibling rivalry. And that's what I think was what they were trying to say. And if you guys agree, let me know down below. Or if you disagree, let me know down below. Am I way off on this theory? But I kind of feel like that's the only theory that kind of makes sense to me, or why she ended up doing this and betraying them at the last second. But anywho, enough of the theory time. Let's get back to the show. Did I mention that this entire show was based on family dysfunction? Like, dysfunction as hell. Speaking of which, by the way, the first time I watched this season finale, I didn't understand why Roman was smirking at the end. Like when he was sitting in the bar by himself, drinking or whatever, he had the smirk on his face like he accomplished something. And I was like, okay, I don't get it. But then I watched the behind the scenes featurette, and after rewatching it and a couple of other featurettes, I realized I think it was because he was just happy with the outcome of it all. Not happy because the company was going to be torn apart by some guy who he literally hated, who he blamed for the death of his dad. No. It didn't have anything to do with that. I think in the end, he was just as bad as Shiv. He was just as disloyal to his brothers. And mostly that's because their dad spent their entire lifetime pitting the siblings against each other. Like, in the end, the kids were never going to win. And I think that was the unsaid or unwritten part about the show. Like, the kids were never going to win because they were raised from birth to be as dysfunctional as bleep. It was ingrained in them at an early age, which, by the way, I don't know what is more sad, that any parent would train their kids to hate each other, or the fact that none of them, even while and I'm assuming they're in their mid-30s or so, none of them have outgrown the dysfunction that they were raised to believe in, that was ingrained at them at a young age. Like, at some point, you have to mature and stop being, you know, and I think this might be part of the basis of the show, that they're like, even though they're all in their 30s, they're still running around like frat boys and sorority girls. They're still running around doing the stupidest crap, doing drugs every chance they get. And I don't know if that's just a class thing or what the hell it is, but it's seriously, they're still running around like they're still in a frat, but they're just playing with hundreds of millions of dollars. And speaking of which, they're all worth hundreds of millions of dollars, and not once did they consider therapy. Like, seriously, some of this could have been avoided if any of them had taken therapy considered seriously and followed through on it. And I know some of you might go, well, what about that part in season 2 where, you know, they were, I think it was season 2 where they had forced Ken after he tried to go against his dad and lost, and then he went to like a day spa for like a month in the middle of the Middle East or something like that. Or I think it might have been Middle East or Sweden or somewhere. He went to some day spa and he was like not allowed to be outside for like 30 days straight until his dad needed him to do a press conference or something to clear his name or whatever, or to just help his reputation or whatever it was. But anywho, that doesn't count as therapy, because you're just going to a day spa and getting massages all day. That's not actual therapy. But okay, so all that being said, I have to say I had really high expectations for this final season, and fortunately it's really surpassed all of them. It was the perfect modern day tragedy, like a Shakespearean level tragedy played out over 4 seasons. And like in a lot of ways, it was kind of like a corporate world version of Game of Thrones. Just arguably more entertaining due to the fact that the last season of Game of Thrones was so hated. And the reason I say arguably more entertaining is because Game of Thrones still had dragons. So I don't know. But even with dragons, this one I think was way more entertaining. So all in all, just like Ozark and Breaking Bad, this was a freaking masterpiece of a season finale. And let's be honest, kind of like Ozark and Breaking Bad, it also was a masterpiece of an entire series. This was bravo. This is like one of those things you just gotta say chef's kiss. I don't normally say chef's kiss a lot, but this was wonderful. This was amazing. A masterpiece. That's drinking. But anywho, with that being said, I just have to say thanks, guys, for listening. If you're still listening to this point, and we're out. Peace.